That'd be nice.
Um, all right.
I'm ready to go whenever.
Yeah, just a second. I'm just writing down the topics.
Sounds good. By the way, I figured out what your walk off is.
What?
It's about that damn commercial, isn't it?
No.
Really? I thought it was for sure going to be about the commercial.
No, we could have it as a wild card if you want.
No, I don't want to talk about that.
Okay. Um, and that was it. And the walk off, right?
Yeah, it was Super Bowl, Megatron, Pro Bowl, and then walk off, right?
So I have NHL All Star game.
Right. That too.
All right. All right. What should our song be?
I'll introduce the song. I've thought of a few.
What do you have?
I was thinking we could have like Super Bowl theme songs. The only song I
What?
like Super Bowl theme songs, like for the two cities that are in it. I've got a few about the Panthers, but I can't think. Like the only song I can think of is a John Denver song for Colorado.
Okay.
But I'll introduce it and everything.
Okay. I was thinking, well, for the Panthers anyway. Um, there's there's a few. Like they play Sweet Caroline a lot.
Yeah, I don't really
Um,
want to play that song though.
and then there's Wagon Wheel, even though it's not specifically about
I was thinking Carolina.
Carolina specifically.
It, plus, that's about Raleigh, which is that's not where the
Right.
Panthers play. So
Right. Yeah.
I was thinking Carolina in My Mind by James Taylor.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah,
Um,
we'll start the
and
show with that. And I was
and then
thinking Rocky
what?
Mountain High by John Denver.
Okay. And also I was thinking if you want to play the Carolina Panthers Super Bowl anthem.
Oh, the Petey Pablo song?
Yeah, I think so.
Totally.
It just came
Yeah,
back out.
we have to play the Petey Pablo song.
It's it's like a bunch of rednecks, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm trying to bring it up. My phone's
I've
being
seen it.
slow.
It's Petey Pablo, I think, the rapper.
Yeah, it was on I saw it on Barstool.
It was
Dixie
ridiculous.
actually.
Oh yeah, we can play that.
All right.
Um,
So, welcome to another edition of the Sports Pulse. I'm Ethan Winter,
I'm Brian Brennan.
and it is Super Bowl week. Albeit without the Patriots, but it does include Brian's Carolina Panthers,
Woo!
as the Panthers are his adopted hometown team.
Yes, the locals.
Um, and we're all pulling for the Panthers in this one.
Hell yeah.
I mean,
So.
yeah, I mean, I kind of spoiled the Super Bowl preview, but before we get to that, let's talk about the songs that will be starting us off with. Brian, take that away.
Yes, we will be beginning with "In My Mind." I'm going to Carolina by the immortal James Taylor, who has ties to both of the areas that we live in. He's from Massachusetts. He went to school and lived for a long period of his life in North Carolina. And he wrote this great song about North Carolina called Carolina in My Mind. And that's what's playing right now.
Yep, and we also have the two awesome Panthers fans create the undisputed Super Bowl anthem.
Yes,
So once
we'll be
that loads up, we'll play that also. But let's first talk about the conference championship game. NFC championship game. A lot of people thought that was going to be close. It turned out to be an utter and complete blowout. It was
Yep.
party central in Charlotte for Panthers fans at about halftime. That was pretty much when the game was over. Was at halftime, and this time instead of letting the Cardinals come back and get back in the game like they did the previous week against the Seahawks, the Panthers went for the jugular, kept stepping on the Cardinals' throats, and never allowed it to get close. The odd thing from that game was that after the Panthers scored a touchdown that made it 40 to something, whatever.
They went for two.
They went for two, which I thought was like strange and like running up the score. I know get a 2 point conversion is harder than getting kicking an extra point, even with the new rules. But still, like that was a little bizarre.
I think everybody was confused by that. Obviously, that's not the big story of the game, but it was one of those weird moments where everybody was like, "Wait, what? What's going on here?"
Right.
Because
I mean, why are they going for two?
I don't even
It just seemed so unnecessary.
At that point, it was 40-19, right?
Or yeah, 40 to 17 or something like that.
I think yeah. So going for two probably wouldn't have meant much at that point in time, but yeah, this was just weird. It was like you said, pretty much party on from halftime.
Yeah.
That game. And really just a complete blowout. Panthers kind of flexed their muscles a little bit and got to the Super Bowl.
And now with the AFC Championship game, that game was a lot closer. Went down to literally the final play of the game. The Broncos dominated the game for pretty much the entire time, but the Patriots still stuck around. The defense played excellent, keeping the game within reach, especially in that second half. A couple things stuck out to me in that game. Peyton Manning didn't win it, but he played well enough where he didn't cost his team the game. He was kind of just there managing it, and he did a good job of protecting the football other than that backwards lateral that was ruled a fumble after review.
He did a good job handing the ball off. That's all Peyton Manning has to do
yes.
Stage.
Yes. And he even ran for a first down, too. Both quarterbacks did. And at one point, both quarterbacks were the leading rushers for both teams. I mean, that's how crazy that game was.
That's nuts.
And both had like 11 yards rushing. I think Manning had 14 rushing yards, but Brady had 11. But it was crazy. Both quarterbacks had the longest runs of the day for both teams at one point. And then I think C.J. Anderson got a big run for a first down that surpassed Manning's in the third quarter, I want to say. And then also the Broncos defensive line was just superb. I mean, and also the Patriots offensive line was just a sieve. It was terrible.
Didn't their coach get fired, the offensive line coach?
Yeah, Googs got fired after the game. And also Stephen Gostkowski missed an extra point for the first time in like nearly 600 kicks. It was crazy.
And that, unfortunately, probably ended up costing his team the game.
I would agree. He
never missed his extra points. And you know what was funny about that to me was that Belichick had been the one who was He said
He
like
proposed that rule.
he proposed the rule, right?
Yeah, he did.
The extra point should be longer, and it's
Yeah.
just it's weird how that kind of came back to haunt him. Almost.
Yeah, it definitely came back to bite the Patriots in the ass. And let me just say this: for the people that are killing Gostkowski, get the fuck out. I mean, seriously, you're not going to find a much better kicker in the NFL than Steven Gostkowski. So stop whining. Shit happens. Move on with it. That's not why the Patriots lost.
At least he completely shank a 27-yard field goal.
That would have actually won the game for them.
Yeah, like Blair.
I mean, this kick happened in the first quarter. I mean, yeah, it did kind of kept the momentum in the Broncos' favor because had he made it, it would have made it a 7-7 game. But with the missed kick, Broncos still had the lead, and I mean, it was just a bad omen. That missed extra point. Then another thing that stuck out to me was Patriots going for it on 4th and 1 with about 6 minutes left in the game. Initially, I thought, hey, why not? I mean, I don't know if the Patriots are going to get back in the Broncos red zone again. Why not just go for it? It's 4th and 1. But then once the Patriots came out of the huddle and I saw the defensive look that the Broncos gave, I was like, oh, shit. Call a timeout or something. Let's kick a field goal instead because I just did not like the look that the Denver Broncos defense gave. And my gut instinct was unfortunately right. And the Broncos made a 4th down stop. And then the Patriots went for it again with just over, I think there's like 3 or 4 minutes left in the game.
They didn't get that either.
And they didn't get that either. But that one, I mean, you were deep in the Broncos territory. So at that point, even after the false start, even after that, you still had the Broncos pinned back deep in their own territory. So I didn't disagree with that move to go for it there because, again, you don't know, especially at that point, you don't know if the Patriots are going to be back in this situation again to score a touchdown or whatever. So I thought they should have gone for it there, and they did, but they didn't get it. And then finally, the Patriots do come through. Gronk with a spectacular catch in the back of the end zone. But of course, the Patriots not converting on the 2-point conversion. And Gronk apparently was wide open in the end zone on the 2-point conversion, but Brady missed him. But really, the story of the game, Brady got hit 20 times in that game alone. You never see that in any game. And the offensive line just played horrible, and that really was the difference in the game, I thought.
All right.
Yeah.
So we're done with Patriots talk for a while.
Yeah, unfortunately, I guess. Yeah, but so yeah, what were your thoughts on the game, Brian?
On which game? The AFC Championship?
Yeah.
Game? I didn't see any of it, to be honest.
Okay.
I didn't really. I was in Charlotte, so I.
Oh, right, yeah, you were tailgating.
Yeah, I saw maybe 5 minutes of that game. I don't really have any thoughts on it.
Yeah, but I mean, it was a great game. Unfortunately for me, anyway, the Patriots did not come out on top. And I do, as we transition to Super Bowl talk, it was interesting to see that the prices of Super Bowl tickets actually went down or were not as high. Yeah, they went down once the Patriots lost. I thought that
Yeah,
was
because you
very
don't have Tom
interesting.
Brady versus Cam Newton anymore. It's Peyton Manning versus
Right.
Cam Newton now, which is
But
still sexy, I guess, for a lot of people. But
not really. Oh, Brian, you're on mute.
I hate when people like call during the middle of these things.
Oh, really? Someone called?
Yeah, I hate when that
Who
happens.
called you?
This 1-800 number. I hate when these.
Oh, fucking telemarketers.
Yeah, but yeah. So now we're with Super Bowl 50. It's the Broncos and the Panthers. It's still going to be a spectacle. It's still going to be awesome. It's going to be a great Super Bowl. I'm obviously very excited for it. The hype has been ridiculous. I mean, I hate this.
I feel like the hype is not as big as it would have been had the Patriots been in the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
Would you agree with that?
It would have been the rematch of the one Super Bowl that the Panthers had already been in,
right?
And it's the Patriots, and that was a great Super Bowl. So I feel like there would have been more sexiness to that matchup, but
it's not
I'm upset that the Panthers are in the Super Bowl and not playing the Patriots. I'm pretty happy they're playing the Broncos.
But I mean, it's not even that the rematch factor. I feel like the hype would have been like, new school versus old school. Both quarterbacks still at the top of the game, with Brady and Cam. Cam going for his first. Brady going for a record fifth. I feel like that, and also with the Patriots trying to give the NFL a big middle finger by winning the Super Bowl this year after Deflategate last year. I feel like all of those different storylines would have made this even more hyped. But with this Super Bowl matchup, you do have Peyton Manning and the HGH allegation storyline, but you already know. And I mean, there really hasn't been any talk, much talk, if any talk, regarding that storyline at all.
I don't think it's a big story, to be honest, because
I mean, but I've talked about this before, in terms of the hypocrisy with the media, comparing these two stories. Again, I don't care if Peyton Manning did or did not take HGH, but I do think he did to try to get back from his injury, and I think it's kind of a legitimate medical reason for him to be using it. He's not using it to enhance his performance. He's using it to try to get back on the field. But still, when you have Roger Goodell compare Tom Brady's ball deflation scheme to which is not proven, and there's no proof at all of that ever even happening.
That's debatable, but okay.
Are you serious, Brian? Science has proven it. Science has proven that nothing malicious happened.
But what about all the text messages and all that stuff?
Text messages don't mean shit when you have scientific evidence proving that nothing out of the ordinary ever took place in terms of ball losing air pressure.
All right, well, I disagree, but
I mean, again, this story is not about. I'm not talking about Deflategate, but how the media has treated these two stories is laughable. I mean, like I said, when you have Roger Goodell comparing what Tom Brady allegedly did or commissioned to using performance-enhancing drugs, what Peyton Manning is accused of or alleged of possibly using is a performance-enhancing drug. So, I mean, do you see the hypocrisy in all this?
Well, I think I've said this so many times, and I really don't want to talk about this, but I feel like Peyton Manning's built up a lot of credibility with everyone, and it's paying off for him. I mean, you see him in commercials all over the place, and you see him, you know, singing stupid songs about chicken parm and whatnot, and you just kind of get the sense that this is a credible guy that you believe, and that's just the case with really how how the world works. When you see people like that, you just kind of assume that you just kind of take what they say at face value. And I personally don't know if Peyton Manning used HGH. I don't really care either way. So, and I don't trust Al Jazeera at all. So that's why I personally don't know if I can believe Peyton Manning, or if I can believe the report. Excuse me. And
Well,
I tend to believe Peyton Manning, but
the Mannings never deny that his wife received shipments of HGH, and they've actually confirmed that his wife did receive shipments of HGH. So that part is true. And again, Al Jazeera in their report they didn't explicitly accuse Peyton Manning of um, using HGH. They just mentioned that HGH was shipped to his house under his wife's name.
right.
So, I mean,
I have no.
I don't. But anyway, I think the media, for the most part, has been very hypocritical between these two stories. But to the game itself, instead of
Yes.
talking about stupid storylines, um,
At least we
I,
didn't talk about Cam Newton's pants.
oh, those were atrocious. Oh my
I
god.
I can't take any more talk about those pants. Like, I just, who gives a shit?
I mean, they're terrible. I mean, I don't think Cam Newton has a very good fashion sense or taste, but again, like you said, Brian, they're just pants. As ridiculous as they are, who gives a shit? Like, who fucking cares?
I don't know, like, it's just people. Cam Newton gets way too much crap he doesn't deserve sometimes. I mean,
No,
I
I
think
agree.
who cares what pants the dude's wearing?
Yeah,
Like, this
I
was a
agree.
national story. We did a national story on this at work. It was
That's
ridiculous.
terrible. All right. So now with the game, I think the Panthers are going to win. Sean said that he thinks the Panthers are going to win. You say, or you think the Panthers are going to win.
Yes, I believe the Panthers are going to win.
Do we have any score predictions?
I don't do score predictions, partially because of the Denver Broncos. If you'll remember the Super Bowl that happened, I guess it was 2 years ago, when they played the Seahawks, that was the last time I gave any score prediction of any kind, because I thought that was going to be like the best Super Bowl of all time, and it wasn't. The Broncos got blown out by the Seahawks, and
game was over at halftime.
Game was over after the first snap when the ball sailed over Peyton's head. And at that point, I just stopped giving score predictions. I do think that the Panthers are going to win. I think that seems to be the consensus across the world, really, that the Panthers are going to win this game. I think a lot of people are rooting for Peyton because this is his last game. I think he told Belichick this was his last rodeo.
Yeah, he did.
Apparently he's been telling his friends too that he's retiring.
I mean, it makes sense for him. I mean, this year had been hell for him, both on and off the field, battling injuries, and it was.
And it's not like if Peyton Manning loses this game, or even if it wins his game, Peyton Manning's a Hall of Famer, no doubt. Like, everybody knows Peyton Manning is one of the best players to play in the NFL ever, and he's going to be in the Hall of Fame regardless of what happens in this game. And his legacy is pretty much set. Like, I think at least Peyton Manning, is leaving behind a tremendous legacy for the NFL. I feel like if he wasn't retiring, the storyline would be how good the Panthers are. But I feel like the one storyline the Broncos have going for them is that Peyton Manning could, the nostalgia factor. They want to win this for him.
Yeah, but I don't think the Broncos players feel that way. I don't think they feel like, hey, let's win it for Peyton Manning. I think they want to win. I mean, who
Right.
wouldn't
Well,
want to win the
obviously.
Super Bowl? But I really don't think it's like win it for the Gipper type of feel.
No, I didn't mean it like
No,
that.
I know,
But I meant
I know. But I mean, so like I've heard people say, or Jeff, he said, "Oh, I see a lot of similarities between this Broncos team and the Ravens team that won the Super Bowl a couple of years ago." Because I mean, they want to win it for Peyton Manning, like the Ravens want to win it for Ray Lewis. It's not that type of thing, and it's not like they want to win it for John uh, when John Elway uh,
right,
won the Super Bowl um, to end out his career with the Broncos on the coattails of Terrell Davis, by the way.
pretty much.
But also John Elway played better than Peyton Manning has this year. But the difference between Peyton Manning and those two guys is that those two guys played their entire career with that one team. This is Peyton
Right,
Manning's second team. And if he was still playing on the Colts, then I might feel a little bit different. Then I might say, okay, maybe, yeah, they do want to win it for Peyton Manning. But I don't get that sense at all. And I don't think they're going into the game with that attitude. They just want to win the Super Bowl, not win it
right,
for Peyton Manning. They want to win the Super Bowl for themselves and as a team.
right. And I think that's everyone's mindset when they get to this point. Um, Honestly, I think if they want to win it for somebody, the person they should win it for is their owner, Pat Bolden, who has Alzheimer's. And I believe that if they want to win it for him, then by all means, go right ahead. Um, I think that difference between the two teams has been shown so far in Media Week. I think the Panthers are relaxed, they're focused, they're ready, and I think it's going to show on Sunday. I think that it's going to be, like I said, I'm not giving a score prediction, but I honestly would not be surprised if the Panthers won big, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's a close game either. But the blowout wouldn't surprise me. A blowout wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, I hope the Panthers win big. I hope the Panthers win I hope the game goes like the last time the Broncos were in the Super Bowl, where
Yep.
they just get absolutely destroyed. Uh, Here's an interesting fact: the Denver Broncos will most likely be wearing orange in the
No, they're
Super
wearing
Bowl.
white. They're wearing
Oh,
white.
they are.
Yeah, they're wearing white,
So,
and the Panthers are wearing black.
so even though it's the AFC's year to wear their home uniforms,
Yeah,
it sounds like the Broncos. Because I was going to say the Broncos. Every time the Broncos wear their Orange Crush uniforms in the Super Bowl, they get demolished.
right.
So that point is going out the window for me. Then
And I think that's the reason why they're wearing white is because in Super Bowls where they've worn white, they're 1-1, and in Super Bowls where they've worn the orange colors, they're 0-4. So the Broncos are dealing with superstition. I highly doubt if they ever make the Super Bowl again after this, they'll ever wear orange again in the Super Bowl. I think
yeah.
they've realized that color is cursed for them.
Well, I
And
mean, and the Broncos also they didn't have to wear white. They could have worn their blue alternate jerseys, which they're
you're
1
not
and
allowed to
0.
wear alternates in the Super Bowl,
They're
so
not
that's
allowed
no,
to wear
yeah, you have
alternates.
to wear your home or your away jerseys.
Ah, that's bullshit.
So the Broncos went with white. The Panthers will be in black. Um, like I said, the Broncos are trying to buck superstition. Uh, I don't think any of that matters. I think the Panthers are going to win.
Yeah, well, to be honest, I'm not a fan of the Broncos orange uniforms as being their full time home. I like them being as alternates, and I actually like their John Elway navy blue home uniforms better. Um,
I think they just like the color orange. Like I don't know. Their original color scheme was always orange, and I think they
right.
want to go back to that.
No, yeah, but I'm just saying, talking about my
I
personal
understand.
taste.
I
But
understand.
but anyway, also my other point that I was going to say is the last time the number one defense played in the Super Bowl, or actually, no, this isn't exactly true, but last time the number one defense played the number one offense in the Super Bowl, the Seattle Seahawks destroyed the Broncos.
Right. And this time the Broncos have the number one defense,
Right.
which is crazy to believe on a team, quarterbacked by Peyton Manning, who obviously wasn't great this year, but it wasn't even good. But
Yeah. Do the Panthers have the number one offense in the
sorry, I was
NFL?
reading the text that Dylan sent both of
Yeah,
us. So
I was too.
what, Dylan? Thanks for listening. But do the Panthers have the number one offense? I do not know that, actually. That's a good question. Let me look that up, actually, because I
Okay.
would be surprised. I would be actually kind of surprised, considering that they lost Kelvin Benjamin for the year, if the
Right.
Panthers actually ended up with the number one offense in the league.
Right.
So I don't know if they have the number one offense, but
Yeah, I think I'm not exactly sure if the Patriots are the number one, had the number one offense, or if they were number two.
Panthers did put up a lot of points every week. So
They did.
they scored 20 points in every single win. So I know that because I got half off pizza every time they scored 20 points and won. So
from
every time,
what pizza chain?
some stupid Papa John's, but
Owned by Peyton Manning.
yeah, I mean, if they win, I'm still gonna eat there.
I know.
I'm still gonna eat
It's
there
just
the
funny.
day after. I just and by the way, Peyton Manning did the right thing investing in Papa John's right after Colorado completely legalized marijuana. I mean, that was a smart investment by Peyton. That I will give him credit for.
Yes. All right. But yeah,
Right, I'm covering all the bases, by the way.
I hope the Panthers win. I am not going to be watching the Super Bowl. The only way that I'll watch any of the Super Bowl is if Tom Brady decides to go and get honored. I'll watch that. But in terms of the game and the halftime show itself, I could care less. I'm just gonna watch 3 games to glory 4, and watch the Patriots win Super Bowl 49 again.
The one person in the world who's not going to be watching the Super Bowl.
My mom's not going to be watching the Super Bowl.
The only 2 people in the world who are ever going to not watch the Super Bowl.
I think there's a lot of Patriots fans that won't watch the Super Bowl, not just me.
I just feel like it's the Super Bowl. Like, no matter who's in it, you got to watch. Like, there have been Super Bowls in which there have been teams that I absolutely could care less about, and you still like the Broncos Seahawks Super Bowl. I could care less about both of those teams, and I still watched.
Yeah, but it's about Goodell. It's just Goodell for me.
Yeah, and he'll get booed when he presents the trophy to whoever it is.
Yeah, maybe I'll watch him get booed, but I won't really watch the game. And I will keep tabs on the score, but I'm not gonna watch. I'm not gonna watch the game.
Should watch Puppy Bowl instead.
No, I already told you I'm gonna be watching 3 games to glory 4.
Excuse me.
All right, so The big news coming out of last week, Calvin Johnson has announced his retirement at the age of 30, just like another Lion great, Barry Sanders. Um, and Brian, I saw a Facebook post by you said Barry
Yes.
Sanders retires at the age of 30. Calvin Johnson retires at the age of 30. At what point uh, does Detroit stop and think, maybe it's us?
Yeah.
I think that's fantastic. I think that's perfect.
It's a trend. I'm noticing it now because it's the best running back in team history and the best wide receiver in team history, and they're both gone in the prime of their careers too. And it's not like Calvin Johnson was slowing down or anything. I mean, Calvin Johnson was still. I mean, he was the one reason you wanted to watch the Detroit Lions,
Right.
as how good Megatron is, and it sucks so much to see him retire so young in his career. But honestly, I think the Lions losing all those games, and somebody on ESPN made a really good point about this. With the number one pick in that year's draft, the Raiders drafted Jamarcus Russell. And we all know how Jamarcus Russell ended out.
Yep.
Jamarcus Russell is one of the worst players in NFL history.
And one of the worst draft picks in NFL history.
Arguably the worst draft pick in NFL history. And the fact that Megatron went after him only makes it even worse. But Megatron was the number 2 pick in that draft. Since that draft, I think it was the 2007 NFL draft, the Lions only have 3 more wins than the Raiders do in that time.
That's crazy.
At a certain point, Calvin Johnson had to look at that and say, okay, I can't do this anymore. I can't be happy with this. In a sport where if you play for a long period of time, you're
going to become crippled.
Not crippled, but you're likely to have some sort of head injury or brain injury.
Or CTE.
CTE, like Ken Stabler, this report coming out about Ken Stabler who died with CTE last year is just awful. And I think Megatron is a smart guy. He sees all this going on, and he's like, the Lions aren't winning. I'm not getting appreciated for my efforts on a really shitty football team, and there's a chance I could keep playing this and end up very seriously injured. I'm out.
Yeah, I think the losing did have an effect on Calvin Johnson's decision to retire. I'm just thinking poor Matt Stafford. Now he has literally no one to throw to except for Eric Ebron, maybe.
And Golden Tate, maybe, too.
Right. Yeah. But, and Calvin Johnson still had 4 years on his contract. But I think I've been hearing that this actually might help the Lions in the long run because it would free up a lot of cap space.
They call it the Patrick Ewing factor. It's something Bill Simmons came up with.
Yeah.
And normally I don't like Bill Simmons, but this is one of the smartest things he's ever said, is sometimes losing a superstar can really help a team and propel it to places that it hadn't been before.
Right. It's like addition by subtraction.
Right. You can kind of look at the Panthers this year in a way. Like they lose Kelvin Benjamin, and all of a sudden they're in the Super Bowl.
Right.
I don't know if that's going to happen for the Lions, though. I mean, the Lions
they're just they're just a historically bad franchise.
The worst.
Although they are making some moves in the front office, bringing in Quinn from the Patriots, who's a smart guy, as their GM, I think. But anyway, I've also heard I mean, of course, this is just Patriot fans thinking of these crazy scenarios, but they were people have been saying over here that Calvin Johnson retired so he could then, like, maybe next year or something, sign with the Patriots. Now, I have 2 thoughts on this. One, like I mentioned before, Calvin Johnson still has 4 years left on his contract. So even if he did decide to come back, out with the Lions that would allow the Lions to cut him, or free him from his contract. So it's a lot more complicated than people think. Two, well, as scary as that potential offensive Brady, Edelman, Gronk, and Calvin Johnson would be, the Patriots, I don't think necessarily would need a Calvin Johnson because they've never won a Super Bowl with a true deep threat vertical receiver, and they won a Super Bowl last year without a true deep threat receiver. I mean, that guy was Brandon LaFell, and Brandon LaFell is not a guy that really separates all that well from cornerbacks like Calvin Johnson does, or even a Randy Moss. So while the thought is nice and that would make it a scary offense, I don't think the Patriots really need a Calvin Johnson type player. I mean, their biggest concern right now is fixing up that offensive line.
Yeah, plus I think Megatron is retired anyway. I think Megatron's not the type of guy like Brett Favre who's going to come back. I feel like he's a smart guy. He's walking away for all the right reasons. And I don't blame him, like I said. And I would have retired if I had to play on that shitty franchise too. And best of luck to Calvin Johnson and the rest of his life, really.
Right. Yeah. And also, it's Detroit. It's not like Miami.
No, I mean that's just. I mean, Detroit's a great sports city,
right.
But it's not a great city for anything else.
I mean,
except for Motown, cars, and music. I mean,
one of their biggest suburbs can't even get clean drinking water.
Ugh, that's a whole other issue on itself.
Yeah. All right. So as we move on from a multiple Pro Bowler retiring, we head to the Pro Bowl. I believe Team Irvin won.
I hate the Pro Bowl.
I didn't pay attention. I didn't watch it.
Saying how much I just despise the Pro Bowl. But yes, Team Irvin did win the Pro Bowl. I think Russell Wilson was the MVP. If you're keeping score at home,
it was Charles Woodson's last Pro Bowl.
Yeah, good for him. It was his last game, period.
Right.
And I love Charles Woodson, so good for him. But God, there's got to be a better way than the Pro Bowl. Like there's got to be something that can be better than this. Cause
you have all 7 Patriots Pro Bowlers declined to come. I mean, they cited injuries, but I mean, no one came. No one came. Jameis Winston was the eighth quarterback on the list of Pro Bowlers, and it went all the way down to him, and he decided to go. I mean,
it was Jameis Winston, right? It was
was
Teddy Bridgewater made the Pro Bowl and got snaps even. Like Teddy Bridgewater's job is to give the ball to Adrian Peterson.
I mean Teddy Bridgewater he's a good young quarterback, but I don't think he's a Pro Bowler quite yet.
No, not yet. And neither is Jameis Winston. This is his first year in the NFL.
Yeah.
And it's just a disaster. The Pro Bowl is so bad on so many levels. There just has to be. I'm looking at the list of people who are selected but did not participate, and that's more impressive than the actual list of people who went to the Pro Bowl.
Right.
And you got Tom Brady, Cam Newton, Aaron Rodgers, Carson Palmer, Ben Roethlisberger, LaShawn McCoy, Antonio Brown, Larry Fitzgerald, Megatron, Gronk, all these people, all these stars in the league either couldn't play in the Super Bowl or couldn't play in the Pro Bowl or declined to play in the Pro Bowl.
Right.
And you could build an all-star team out of this group of people. So the NFL has to find something to either replace the Pro Bowl or just a way in general to make the Pro Bowl more interesting than it is.
I
Um,
I think what they should do is, and we talked about this before, where every team has a bye week in the middle of the season, like week 9. I think
right,
every team should have a bye week, and you play a flag football game because that's what it essentially is anyway at this point. You just play a flag football game and have it in the middle of the season, like every other All Star game and every other sport has
right.
their All Star game in the middle of the season. Um, or or you just do away with the game entirely, but still have like uh, Pro Bowlers,
Right.
like an All Pro selection. You have a Pro Bowl selection, so
I like
and
that.
you just have that, and you don't play the game at all. Maybe you do some like pass, throw, and kick type competition or something,
We
or
were talking at
throw,
work.
catch, and kick type competition or something.
We were talking at work how much we missed the skills competition from the Pro Bowl because that was the one
Wait, the
thing
NFL had a skills
it
competition?
did, like a throwing competition and just strength competitions and speed competitions, and it's been eliminated for a while, but it did exist. There was a time when the NFL did have skills competitions at the Pro Bowl, and we were talking at work about how much better it would have been. Like that would be something worth watching. Like I don't think the Pro Bowl is at any point worth watching.
Yeah, no, I agree. Um,
My
okay,
I sorry to cut you off.
that's all
Go
right.
ahead.
No, you go ahead.
All right. Well, my idea for a replacement, and I've had people tell me that this is the dumbest idea ever. Like somebody actually said that your idea is moronic. But so just before I say what it is, my idea has always been I think there should be a consolation game for third place in the NFL instead of the Pro Bowl.
I
I
actually like that. I do like that, and I think you told me that story before.
Right. I've had
Uh,
this idea for a while, actually.
yeah,
And even before the Pro Bowl got to as shitty as it is now. And I think that people in general would rather see a game between two actual NFL teams than Team Irvin versus Team Rice.
yeah. Oh,
Doesn't
that's another thing. I mean, they tried to be like the NHL All Star Game when they did picking the teams, regardless of conference. I think they should just get rid of that and just go back to AFC NFC.
yeah. I think the NHL, I mean, it worked for a while, but after a while, it just didn't.
I mean, we all are speaking of the NHL All Star Game.
Yes.
Um, who won? I know John Scott was named
It was the
MVP.
Pacific Division ended up winning.
So how do they do this? Because
So
there's four divisions.
it was actually really cool to see the NHL All Star Game right now after the MLB All Star Game, maybe the best All Star game because of what happened this weekend. So they had 3 mini games that comprised of 20 minutes, and the first game I think was it was the Atlantic versus the Metropolitan. Then it was the Pacific versus the Northwest. Or what's the other division? It's the Pacific. Well, either way, the Pacific Division and whoever they
The
played. And then,
Southwest division, I think.
yeah, it's the Central. The Central. It was
Okay, yeah.
Atlantic versus Metropolitan first, then Pacific versus Central. The winner of those two games, those two mini games that were only 20 minutes long, played in a third game that was also 20 minutes long to determine who won. And it ended up being the Pacific versus the Atlantic. And the Pacific ended up winning with John Scott, who was the star of the whole weekend, um, winning the game MVP. And the prize, which I don't really understand why there was a prize involved in this, but they gave away $1 million to the winning team,
Huh.
which I don't really get, because these guys, it's not like they're underprivileged children. They're professional
Right.
athletes. They're professional. They have like $1 million just laying.
They're already millionaires.
Yeah, they've already got $1 million. This isn't like huge. This isn't like it's going to change their lives forever like it does for some people. But
Right.
It was awesome to watch. It was really it was interesting. I think everybody wanted to see how it would go because the NHL All-Star Game has changed so much. I read somewhere that there have been 5 changes to the format of the NHL All-Star Game in 20 years.
That's crazy.
It had been the World versus North America.
I remember that.
It had been conference versus conference. And then it was, for a couple of years, it was what the Pro Bowl's doing now. It was captains choose the rosters. And now they've settled on this, and this is the way to go. I mean, I don't think there's even a debate at this point. They need to keep this up because it was must-watch TV on Sunday night. It was just exciting to watch. The players played hard. It really felt like this is what the NHL needs to do.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know the story of John Scott, John Scott, he's a fighter, he's an enforcer, but he's also was the captain of the Arizona Coyotes or Phoenix Coyotes. Yeah, it is Arizona Coyotes.
It's Arizona now.
Yeah.
He wasn't the captain, but he was just he was kind of a scrub that they had on their bench.
Yeah. But he was actually a captain for the All-Star Game, though. He had the
right. He wasn't captain for the team, but he was captain for the All-Star Game.
Okay.
What the fans could vote on was the captain position.
Oh, that's cool.
That's what John Scott ended up getting, was the captaincy spot for the Pacific. And
yeah. But anyway, he was one of the leading vote getters for the All-Star Game. He was going to be an All-Star. He already got his All-Star Game gloves. And the Coyotes traded him to Montreal, who then subsequently sent him down to Newfoundland in the AHL. I believe their team is the St. John Ice Caps. What's the or is it still the Hamilton Bulldogs?
It doesn't matter either way.
But anyway, he was sent down to the AHL, and there is a question of whether he was going to be allowed to play in the NHL All-Star Game, and he wrote this great story on the Players Tribune about it. And so as a result, but he eventually was able to play, and now not only is he John Scott an All-Star, but he's John Scott All-Star MVP and has more NHL All-Star Game goals than one Sidney Crosby.
Woohoo! That's what I'm talking about.
So a great story for John Scott. Congratulations to him. And also in other NHL news, Gary Bettman's contract has been extended.
For whatever reason.
Yeah.
Who knows what the reason behind that is. That's just weird. But the other thing worth noting is that the NHL basically told John Scott, we don't want you in this game. Like, we want a person who actually deserves it. And even John Scott at a point in time said, I wish you were all voting for my teammates who deserve it instead of me. And I think that John Scott being elected to the All-Star Game, at first I thought it was the dumbest thing that's ever happened.
Right.
But now it ended up being great. It ended up being great for the game. People watched, I think, a lot more because of John Scott being in the game.
Right.
And it really ended up being great for the league. And unfortunately, John Scott now has to go back to the AHL.
Yeah, that sucks.
Canadians potentially recall him. And even then, he's not going to be, like a starter for them. He'd probably be a healthy scratch at the most.
Right. I hope the Canadians uh, trade him to another team that actually needs him,
Yeah, just get.
and will use him. And I wouldn't mind if no, this would never happen, but I wouldn't mind if John Scott was on the Bruins because the
He used to
Bruins
be. Sorry, go ahead.
have kind of lost that edge that they once had uh, with Lucic and um, Boychuk and um, McQuaid and fight and like they don't really have a lot of fighters on their team. So I think John Scott would be a nice addition to the Bruins if they could get him.
He
Um,
played my team too in the past too. He played 1 year for the Rangers. 6 games, 5 minutes on the ice. Nothing else to show for it. That's it. That's all they
yeah,
have for him on Wikipedia. John Scott's not really a points guy. And so that's what made him scoring 2 goals in the All-Star game just extraordinary, is
right.
that he isn't a goal scorer. I'm
But
looking at now,
he
5 goals in his career.
he does have more. I feel like he does have more skill than people give him credit for.
I would agree. Definitely.
All right, now for onto the walk off. Brian, do you want to go first, or do you want me to
Yeah.
go first?
I'll go first if you want. I don't care.
All right.
So we've talked a lot about the Super Bowl this last hour or so, and Peyton Manning, of course. But I want to talk about this one report that I saw out today that the Los Angeles Rams are interested in bringing in Peyton Manning for the 2016 season. Um, Personally, I think this is just a dumb move on everyone's part. If the Rams choose to do it, I think it's like almost a ticket move where you're. And I get it. I get it. They're a new team in LA. They're trying to drum up fan support. They're the only team in LA for this season, and to get fan support, you need star names, and the Rams don't really have any star names. But I feel like to have Peyton Manning go to the Rams would just be a terrible move for everyone. I feel like that would hinder the younger players, the younger quarterbacks that the Rams have. I feel like that would prolong Peyton Manning's retirement almost into a Brett Favre type thing where we don't know when he's going to retire, as opposed to now when it's looking like this is his last game and it's fitting that it's in the Super Bowl. Like nobody wants to remember Peyton Manning as a Ram. Like that would just be bad. Like Joe Namath did the same thing. Joe Namath obviously not Peyton Manning, but he did the same thing where at the end of his career when the Jets cut Joe Namath, he went to the Rams, and that was the lasting image of Joe Namath was him in the Rams jersey, and it was just awful. And Emmitt Smith, same thing with going to the Cardinals. So I think Peyton Manning should just retire after the Super Bowl, win or lose, and just move on. The Rams shouldn't be interested in Peyton Manning. I think they should get a new quarterback, but it doesn't need to be Peyton Manning, and that's all I really have to say on that.
Yeah, I've also heard possibilities of Johnny Manziel going to the Rams. I think
I've heard
that
Johnny Manziel going everywhere. To be honest, like he could go anywhere.
I think that would be a bad move for both parties involved because I feel like Johnny would just go out of control.
LA is not conducive to Johnny Manziel's
Yes.
style. It would just be bad.
Um. So my walk off has to do with Roger Goodell. So
Oh,
once
of course.
again, a return to what has
Roger
Roger Goodell done
this week.
wrong today or this week, and what
Let's
he
be
has.
fair, probably today.
Well, it was yesterday.
Like I meant to say he's probably done something wrong today that we
Yeah.
don't know about.
But what I'm talking about happened yesterday when once again Roger Goodell because he's the liar. All he does is lies, 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 lies. Said on the Rich Eisen show that they weren't that they never took and recorded PSI readings of footballs before games throughout the season. They were just spot checks to make sure that teams know that we're coming down on this and they're looking at this and take this issue very seriously. Yet, the data recorded has been admittedly destroyed or non-existent. So once again, Roger Goodell is showing a lack of leadership, a lack of transparency, a lack of integrity for a man who preaches about integrity every second he can get, has none. And it's another black mark on his tenure as NFL commissioner. The NFL has no credibility whatsoever, is not transparent, and it's a bunch of hypocrites led by Roger Goodell. So once again, I mean, I shouldn't be surprised that this happened, but at the same time, it just blows my mind that this guy, is still in charge of the NFL. This guy needs to go. He has no leadership skills whatsoever. All he does is lie. He has no balls. He can't face the music. And I sincerely hope that a reporter has the balls to just challenge Roger Goodell and call him out on all of his bullshit lies that he's told ever since Ray Rice, since Bountygate, since Deflategate, since even Spygate even. I mean, this guy, he can't be trusted. And I don't understand why he's still in charge of the NFL. I don't understand how he can think that we can still fall for his lies. I just don't understand how this guy's in charge, and he needs to go ASAP. And I'm not just saying this from a Patriots fan's perspective, although it does have a part to do with it. But I'm saying this as a former NFL fan's perspective, because I have lost any respect that I had for the NFL organization.
It's money. That's why Roger Goodell has his job. It's money. The NFL is a billion-dollar organization.
And that's why the NFL sucks.
And it's a billion. It makes billions and billions of dollars. And I agree that Roger Goodell sucks. But I understand why he hasn't been fired or why he hasn't stepped down. But the NFL is making billions upon billions of dollars. And while I think Roger Goodell is a terrible commissioner and really in general a shitty person, I think that the money has a lot to do with it. And that's why nobody's said anything. That's why none of the owners have come forward and said we need to get this guy to go. The money makes the difference. The NFL is the top money-making sport in the world.
At the same time, though, has Roger Goodell done anything specifically that helped the NFL make money? Because I feel like most of the money that the NFL is bringing in has to do with the broadcast TV rights, which goes on to a whole nother topic that I'm actually thinking of writing a article about and sending it to a local newspaper or something about the NFL's relationship with its broadcasting partners. But I feel that all the money that the NFL has made has to do with the TV rights, which Robert Kraft is in charge of the broadcasting committee, and he's the one that is negotiating these TV contracts and deals with the CBS, ESPN, and Fox and NBC. So I don't see anything that Roger Goodell has done himself specifically that has helped the league one bit. I think the league has thrived in spite of him instead of because of him.
No, I agree, but I'm just saying that the reason he hasn't been fired is because of the fact that it's making money. And while I don't think he has anything to do with it either, the NFL is popular because it's the fucking NFL. And I think that Roger Goodell, the reason he still has his job is just it's all about the Benjamins, as P Diddy once said, it's all about the Benjamins.
I would like to see the ratings for the Super Bowl this year because I guarantee you that they go down from what they were last year.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see.
All right. Well, that's my walk-off. And taking us out is, let me bring this up. The Carolina Panthers anthem, Super Bowl anthem. I don't know if you guys can you hear it?
There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Who did this again? This is just like the two redneck guys, right?
Yeah, it's Caleb from Barstool Dixie and some random fat Carolina redneck.
There's a Barstool South?
Yeah. They went to all the college football games.
I feel all right. Now I get it. That makes sense.
Yeah.
This isn't college football territory, though. This is college basketball territory.
Yeah, but I mean, the guy that runs Barstool Dixie, he was a former UNC quarterback.
Oh, good for him. That's cool.
Yeah. And he also made a likeness line that was basically making fun of the president of the NCAA.
Mark Emmert?
Yeah.
Yeah, people in the South hate Mark Emmert. I don't know why. I don't follow any of that, but...
I just have to say that guy that makes the growl, that's fantastic.
Oh, the growl from that you hear at like any team named Panthers? Yeah.
Yeah, or Cats or something. That guy that the Panthers fan that was making that was like fantastic. It was really good.
I wish I could do that. I wish
also
I could do that.
Also taking us out is was it Rocky Mountain High by John Denver.
Yes.
All right. See you guys.
Keep pounding.